Okay, let's go.
You ready, Mark?
Yeah.
Ready, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
I think it's ugly.
I don't think it's ugly at all.
Downtown Detroit's beautiful.
Detroit is the best big city in the country.
I don't like cities.
It's a city with the widest range of people that you can imagine. Competitive city. Television and radio stations are competitive. The newspapers are competitive. I think it is one of the best newspapers in the United States.
I think it's about average. I think it's a very bad newspaper.
As editor, I know very well that the day we get no complaints is the day we put out a dull newspaper. One moment you're being hanged as too liberal. The next day you're being hanged as too conservative. In some things we are liberal, in others we're conservative. But there is an effort to give, to our best ability, both sides of the question. To give our readers a balanced diet from which they can select their own opinion.
Editorial department.
The editor has arrived. It's the start of a typical workday at the Detroit News, and time to produce an all-new afternoon newspaper. Some of the staff have already been here for hours, helping to prepare the first edition. A few have been around all night. An afternoon paper must keep going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if it's going to report all the news as it happens. The Detroit News has been doing it for a century, which makes it one of the oldest newspapers in America. It's also one of the biggest afternoon papers anywhere, with a circulation over 600,000. Its Sunday edition, the Sunday News, tops 800,000. Almost all this circulation is in the 7 counties of metropolitan Detroit. That means serving Detroit's needs and interests is the paper's #1 concern. It's a tough beat, but hardly a dull one. The first edition. It will be followed by 3 more. Throughout all 3, the news will be re-edited, added to, and repositioned as more facts flow in. By the time the final is out in late afternoon, it will be almost a brand new paper.
Okay.
Mr. Hayden, I have some messages for you, American Motors, about Roy Chapin.
Okay, we'll call that.
The attorney, and Mr. Worthington would like to talk to you, and here are 2 personal.
Okay.
The editor's first order of business will be to check over the first edition, to evaluate the treatment of news.
It's divergent opinion and the discussion thereof that makes democracy work. After all, one of the great things about American newspapers in general is that if you read only that, you're going to get a pretty good view of what's going on in the world.
#2 man on the news side is the managing editor, responsible for the day-to-day reporting and writing of hard news. Wars, politics, fires, and men who bite dogs are all in his special province.
When you get into a metropolitan newspaper, you got a special breed of cat. It's a little more than a local paper, and people expect more of it and have a right to expect more. We have access to every major wire service. The copy comes in here, just comes in here by the ton. We, like all metropolitan newspapers, maintain a Washington bureau. to cover the Capitol itself in addition to the wire services. We also send people to places where we think we can fruitfully get something that we're not getting from the wire services. A point of view, an insight, a uniquely Detroit look, or it may be a case where we just don't think we've really gotten a good picture of what's going on someplace. Let's send somebody there and take a look. Take a man that we know and trust and send him. Send people to South America, Europe, Asia, any place that there is anything that we think we can fruitfully tell our readers that's interesting or important for them to know.
That's why we're different than, for instance, France, where if you want to know what's going on, you buy 6 papers and read all 6 of them, and by believing what you wish to believe from each one, you finally get a balanced viewpoint.
The second edition is put together. Remaking the front page, the news editor gives stories new positions and rewritten headlines as they change in importance. The idea is to keep the reader right up to the minute on facts and perspective, a job that sometimes goes unappreciated.
Well, I always feel any newspaper, magazine, you always have to take it with a grain of salt. There's not an article that's written that's not slanted.
In the articles that I've read, I've found most of them to be factual.
I don't feel we get both sides of a question, any question.
Well, I can take this paper and I can put a story in here to make any point I want about any given thing. There's no question about it. But the idea is, it's a very simple idea. So you go out and you learn everything you can about both sides of any issue. The key word to me is fairness. You've got to be fair. And I'll tell you, if we aren't, who's going to be? There isn't anything left. Television has abandoned this completely, even the so-called news magazine. This is the only place that's still even trying.
The desire to report it straight runs deep in a veteran newspaper man. It takes a lot of know-how, too.
What the real me is doesn't matter. It's what the story is, and you learn how to get it. You go out and you know the people to talk to, and after you've been in this business long enough, you know how to talk to different people. You talk to hippies one way, and you talk to police quite another way. Just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean that it's necessarily so, and if you talk to enough people at a scene, any place, you can pretty well synthesize a good, pretty well straight down the middle version of what happened, even though you'll vary in details here or there. You can come up with an honest, close to the fact story.
Sometimes getting close to the facts isn't that easy. The paper's sports columnist interviews a Yugoslav boxer using a 10-year-old boy as an interpreter.
Pape?
Rock Pape.
Rock Pape. Was that all one? What's his first name? Rock?
Pape, to je ime I prezime.
How old is he?
Koliko si star?
25 godina.
25 years old.
125. He's well preserved here.
Staying objective is a problem for a political reporter as well.
I'm kind of an old-fashioned newspaper man in a way, you know, in that I don't lead somebody by the hand or by the nose to a truth, but just try to give them the elements so that they can decide what's the truth.
Mr. Romney, considering the effect on this country politically, considering this war,
Reporting it straight is a very interesting problem. Sure, I like to unload, but you have to remember, as a politics writer, I got to work on both sides of the fence, you know, and if I start getting very opinionated about, you know, I hate all Democrats, you know, all Democrats feel this way or that way, and never write anything harsh about Republicans or something. When I go out to cover Democrats and attend their conventions and talk with them and try to find out the why of what's going on, they won't talk to you, and I wouldn't blame them.
Being impartial, getting the facts, telling a good story. These are the everyday ingredients of any assignment.